Be sure to catch this episode of the Examine Show where I have Brandon on and he will tell us all about the weak event manager that will prevent you from any memory leaks ever happening in your apps. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Examine Show, all about the Examine Community Toolkit. And I'm joined today by Brandon Minnick. Hey, Brandon, how are you doing?
Hey, Gerald, thanks for having me back.
Of course, because you had in this previous episode a great story about the async commands and the async, all the things, which is really great. But together with that, hand in hand, we also have something about the weak event manager. What's that all about?
That's right. So, yeah, if you haven't seen the last episode we did on async command, go check it out because we're kind of picking up where we left off. But yeah, we have this thing called Weak Event Manager in the Xamarin Community Toolkit, and it will basically help save you from memory leaks. I don't know about you, Gerald, but my most common memory leak in all my apps is always just I forget to unsubscribe my event handlers. And so I'll subscribe to an event and then I forget to unsubscribe it. And sometimes that's okay because sometimes the garbage collector will still figure out that we're done and we can move on. We can free up that chunk of memory. But there's times where maybe there's a static reference in that event, or maybe you're referring to another class that hasn't been yet garbage collected. And so what we have is the weak event manager that essentially solves that for you. It makes it so like you don't have to unsubscribe and the garbage collector can still clean up the class that contains this event. So hopefully there will be no more memory leaks because of event managers thanks to the weak event
So
manager.
that's what I love. Just add that little bit of magic. I don't need to understand everything that's underneath it, and my memory leaks will just go away. That's the way I love it. Now, of course, you have to understand what's happening underneath because that's important to know what's going on in your application. But the less stuff that we actually need to think about with this, the better, right? So with these weak event managers, I think you're going to have a little bit of code for us to look at. But how are we going to use that in our application?
Yeah. So let's jump back into the code here. And in this view model, we have an event called get latest release failed. And so to fill you in, this is just an app that will ping the GitHub APIs and tell us the latest version of Xamarin Community Toolkit. So we tap the button, we find out we're on version 1.0.2, and that worked. So great. But had it failed, we do propagate that as an event up to our view. So our content page will handle that. So we subscribe to it, we'll handle it here. And really all we're doing is just displaying an alert to the user to let them know something went wrong. And I like to do that here in the view to kind of keep all my UI stuff in one place. So that's why we're propagating it up through this event. So that's great. But like we talked about a minute ago, if we forget to unsubscribe this event handler, it's not guaranteed that you'll have a memory leak, but it leaves the door open. It kind of opens the possibility for a memory leak. And so let's check out the weak event manager to see how we can just solve that, hopefully forever. And so what we can do is we can create a weak event manager, and I'm going to say type string because this is an event handler of type string. And let's just call it get latest releases failed event manager, nice and verbose.
It's yeah. Why
But the
not?
nice thing is I'm still
Oh,
using some C sharp
C
9,
sharp
so I can
C
just
sharp
say
nine, really
new,
good.
and it just works. I love that. So we want to just initialize this right away, keep it read only because you'll never have to reinitialize it or change it. And then what we do is we come down to the event, and this might look a little weird because before I started using weak event managers, I didn't know you could do this. You can actually set what happens when you add or remove or subscribe and unsubscribe to an event. And so instead of letting the default subscription in .NET to the event happen, we're actually going to take it and say instead, add that subscription to our weak event manager. And likewise, when somebody says unsubscribe, we're going to say remove it from our week event manager. And so now, anytime anytime anybody subscribes to this event, we're actually going through this week event manager, and you can check out the code. It's all open source in the toolkit, but what's happening under the hood is that week event manager is actually using reflection to do the subscriptions. And that's kind of the magic for how we avoid the memory leaks, because there's no hard coupling, there's no dependency. So when the garbage collector comes through to, say, dispose of this view model or dispose of our view, it'll look and see, is this still connected to anything? Like, is this referencing any other classes, any other code, anything that would prevent me from garbage collecting this? And when it looks at this week event manager, it'll say, nope, there's no hard connections. I can get rid of it, even though you and me, Gerald, we know that we never unsubscribed from this event. So that's kind of the secret sauce underneath the hood. And this is all we have to do. Just a couple of lines of code, and we can avoid any future memory leaks caused by forgetting to unsubscribe from this event.
That is cool. That is so cool. Actually, I did know also about the add and remove, but that was because I was working on Xamarin Forms, and I think we've used this because I think there. But let me ask you this thing, because everyone has the I notify property changed in Xamarin Forms, right? Because that's what we're using with we're good citizens. We're trying to do MVVM, and I notify property changed is a big thing there. And that also has the event of, like, property changing a couple of events. I tried to use this toolkit, the week event manager, for that, but that didn't really work. So what's going on there?
Yeah, great question. So if we jump down to, I've got the base view model here with I notify property changed. So yeah, there's a couple things going on here. And so let's instantiate a week event manager. We'll call it property changed event manager. Boom. And what's actually kind of interesting about this, you'll notice this is the Xamarin Forms week event manager. So Xamarin Forms actually exposes a week event manager class themselves. It's the toolkit that actually gives us the of type T. So if I change that to string, then we'll see that namespace wanting to bring in our toolkit. So Xamarin Forms, it has a week event manager. We can add that in here. And let's see what happens. Remove. There we go. And yeah, kind of like you were alluding to a minute ago, we're getting a bunch of red squiggles. So what's happening here? Well, the Xamarin Forms week event manager is actually, we'll say, hard coded to only use event handlers. And so we can use it for anything that has this event handler. So public event handler, great. The Xamarin Forms one will work just fine. But what we did in the toolkit, we expanded it because event handlers are only one type of event. You can have events that are of type action. You can have events that are type delegate. And that's actually the problem we're running into here with property changed. This property changed event handler is of a type delegate. So what we did in the toolkit, we created, and let's see, let me make sure I spell that right. Delegate. There it is. Thanks to IntelliSense. There you go. So we have the delegate week event manager. And so it's similar to the one that Xamarin Forms provides out of the box. And to be honest, when I created the delegate week event manager, it was actually inspired by the Xamarin Forms week event manager. But it's expanded so we can use it for delegate events like this. And I did forget to mention something earlier, and I'm seeing it glaringly right now with these red squiggles. When we add week event managers, we're going to get this red squiggle when we just try to say property change.invoke or event name.invoke. And all we have to do instead is say, we have to just reference our event manager, and we'll just tell it to raise the event. And then the syntax is a little different. We still pass in the sender. We still pass in the event args. So this is still valid. New property change event args is still valid. The only thing we also need to add is the name of the event. So getting back to what we were chatting about a minute ago, because weak event managers use reflection to fire these events and keep track of what's subscribed to which event, by passing in the name of the event, just using the name of property, that's what allows the property change event manager to fire. And so, yeah, shame on me. I forgot to add that up here in our first view model.
That's good, because now
we did get the red squiggle.
Exactly. So it's going to help us anyway. It's going to remind us. Don't worry about that. And this is good, right? Because this is a scenario that people will come across as well. They'll notice red squigglies, and now they know how to solve it and why this is happening. So all good.
Yeah. Turns out, even if you created the library, then you'll still forget something sometimes.
Oh, yes. Absolutely. This is awesome stuff, Brandon. I'm sure that, we will see apps without memory leaks now. So that is going to be really great. There is a lot of other cool stuff going on in the Xamarin Community Toolkit, but this is definitely a little bit more of the hardcore stuff, I'll be honest. But that's what Brandon's all about. And I think you will have to have a play with it yourself to see what it's all about. Of course, this project is open source. You can find it on the link down here below. Also in the video description for you to click on, and you'll find a couple of other links there as well. Thank you so much, Brandon, for coming on the show and explaining everything there is to know about this weak event manager and showing us how to use it. Thank you, everyone, for watching, joining this show. There will be next episodes, of course, with all the things in the Xamarin Community Toolkit. If you want to be notified automatically, be sure to click that subscribe button, click that like if you've liked this video, and I'll be seeing you for the next one.